but hopefully it's a little sunnier wherever you all may be. Today we're here talking about a new technology in green cleaning with the Healthy Schools campaign and, of course, our friends from Green Clean Network and a number of schools. So we're excited to have you here today. Before we get started, just want to let you know, be part of the conversation. Join us. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask it. Jump on social media, on Twitter, tweet to Green Clean, share your thoughts, post your questions. We will be doing our best to get back to you quickly. My name is Mark Bishop. I'm Vice President of Policy of Healthy Schools Campaign, and again, we're excited to be here. Today's webinar is one in our series of our summer green cleaning webinars. As you can see, we're on number 4, new technology in green cleaning, so we hope you enjoy it. And for those of you who are interested, on September 16th, we'll be talking about green cleaning and infection control, so hope you can join us then. Pardon me. All right, so let's keep going. And a little bit about logistics before we get to the actual content. We got about an hour today for our webinar. So hope you set aside full time. A recording will be made of the webinar as well as the materials from today's show. So we'll get a link to you by the end of the week where you can download all the information, so don't worry about it. And then finally, at the end of the webinar, when you exit, there's going to be a very short 1-minute survey that would be very helpful for us if you'd be kind enough to fill out. Helps us think about content program delivery and helps us make sure that we do a better job next time. So please take time to fill that out. Also, at the end, our plan is generally to have about 30 to 40 minutes of conversation with our speakers, and then the final 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to have a Q&A. We do Q&A through the questions box. So we're going to ask you to type your question in the box. It should be on the lower left hand of your screen. Type in the questions. When you have the question, don't wait. Just get the question in. It'll get queued up, and at the end, we'll be able to go through all the questions and answer them and hopefully have an interesting conversation with our speakers here today. I am going to be introducing the speakers one by one, but just so you know, we have 3 great speakers: Steve Ashkan, who's the Executive Director of the Green Clean Network; Pat Pezzo, the Administrator for Operations of the East Meadow School District; and Jody Krause, the Assistant Director of Housekeeping at the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Housing. Just so you know that Pat and Jody are both, Jody is current, Pat is a previous award-winning school for the National Green Cleaning Awards for Schools and University, done in partnership with Green Cleaning Network and American Schooling University. Coincidentally, the applications are for this year's award are due on September 6th. So if you know of any schools or if you want to apply, make sure you get your information in. A link to the actual award will be shared later in the webinar. So a little bit about who we are before we get fully started. The Healthy Schools Campaign. We are a not-for-profit. We're based in Chicago, but we have a national focus on all of our programs and policy work. We work on the intersection of health, environment in the school setting, and we have what we consider to be a common sense philosophy that a healthy child is going to be a more successful student, and we have a responsibility making sure that our kids have a healthy place to learn and teachers have a healthy place to work. So we're glad that you're able to join us here today to hear more about this important work. Now, talking about green cleaning, a number of years ago, about 8-9 years ago, we published with our author, Steve Ashkan, the Quick and Easy Guide to Green Cleaning in Schools, and this becomes the framework of how we talk about green cleaning. It's about, well, you'll hear more from Steve about what green cleaning is and a little bit more background there. From our perspective, it's about making sure you have the safest, the healthiest products that are going to promote student health, student success, as well as preserving the environment. Our platform, the Quick and Easy Guide to Green Cleaning Schools, is more than just a guide. It's a website. It's our platform for education. It's how we actually engage with stakeholders to talk about the importance of these issues. And we use this as our platform for promoting green cleaning, the importance of green cleaning wherever we go. And again, one of those key parts is about engaging with stakeholders and people who value the quality of education and the quality of our student health. So we partner with national organizations across the country to make sure that they understand and their members understand as much as we do how important green cleaning is and how important it is to protect the health of our students. So whether it's the American Federation of Teachers, Parents for Public Schools, or the American Association of School Business Officials, we want to make sure that we all get that message loud and clear that a healthier student is going to be a more successful student, and green cleaning is an important part of this work. So as I mentioned, here is the web address. If you are interested, if you know a school, if you are a school that can apply for the 2014 Green Cleaning Awards, go to asumag.com, green_cleaning_awards. Download the application. It's a very straightforward application, but it helps us to really highlight the great, innovative work like what you'll hear in a moment that's going on around the country. You know, we're really excited to see all of this really interesting new work. So please share that link, get your school, get your client, get your community to download the application, look into it, go to the American School and University website, check it out. It's a great magazine, great resource, great guide. So here we go. We're going to get started by talking a little about introducing Steve Ashkan, and he is going to be our first speaker. I'm going to introduce him, but in the meantime, we got a poll up. So tell us a little bit about who you are so we know who we're talking with. Answer the question while I tell you a little bit about Steve Ashkan. Steve is the president of the Ashkan Group, which is a consulting firm that specializes in the cleaning industry, and he's executive director of the Green Cleaning Network. He's well known throughout the profession, cleaning, education, healthcare, and building management industries as the father of green cleaning. He has played a pivotal role in setting industry standards, promoting environmentally preferable products, and advocating for socially responsible practice in the cleaning industry. Steve has worked professionally in the cleaning industry since 1981 and on the issue specifically of green cleaning since 1990. Not only is he the author, the primary author of the Quick and Easy Guide to Green Cleaning in Schools, he's also our colleague and our friend, and we are excited to have him here. Now, before I give it up to Steve, let's just take a quick look. 15% of you all are distributors. We've got a third of you work in schools. A couple of others, 32% say other. We did not have all of the right choices out for you. Maybe next time. But that gives a good overview of who we got. And having said that, Steve, it's all yours.
Mark, thank you very much. I really sincerely appreciate the opportunity to join you and Pat and Jody on this presentation. And I especially want to thank all of you who are on the phone today. I know that you're all very busy, so I really do hope that we can make the use of this time very helpful to you. Before I begin my presentation, I want to reiterate that in the lower right-hand side, you'll see the place it says chat and place to type your message. You know, please make this time as valuable for yourself as possible. So if you have questions, please type it in and send it to us so that we really can, again, help you. And what I want to really share really briefly to sort of set the context for what we're talking about today and to really set up set it up for Pat and Jody's presentation, who will get into a lot more specific detail, is sort of this issue of change. And my goal for how I will measure my own success and frankly measure the success of this webinar is if we're able to give those of you on the phone the opportunity or the ability or the inspiration to change at least one thing that you're doing in your cleaning programs. I hope no one's offended, but to me this is really not an educational program. I'm really not trying to make you smarter. I'm really not trying to get you to have a higher grade on some test. This is all about change, because without change, at the end of the day, frankly, we haven't accomplished anything. And we know that there's so much that needs to be done and so much that can be done. I really hope that you will commit to doing at least one thing differently, buying one different product, really helping us push the industry forward, training your people a little bit differently. And I know that Pat and Jody will really give you a lot of very good specific ideas on how to accomplish that. So next slide, please. So I think we all know that school environments and all environments indoors have a direct impact on our health. And what I really want you in terms of understanding about cleaning is to think of it as a cost-effective health intervention strategy. You know, we really do clean to protect people's health. And in addition to that, the industry is really huge. So with all the products that we use, the ingredients that go into making them, what happens after they're disposed of, they have huge environmental impacts. So the decisions that we make really not only are going to affect people's health, but to affect the environment. And if we're really smart about it, we can figure out ways to help you do these things that also can reduce your costs. Next slide. And while I know that you have so many things that you can be working on, and there's so many different issues that schools and universities impact, I want you to really believe that you personally not only can change what's going on in your department, but understand the global implications of the decisions that you make. And the picture that you see on the left, that's actually a paper mill on the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. And this paper mill employs 15,000 workers and is in the middle of a plantation that is almost 3 million acres. So it's about the size of the state of Connecticut. And last fall, I had the opportunity to go there to talk to the companies that's operating this, to talk to them about their commitment to ceasing to cut the rainforest, their commitment to restoring high conservation value forests. And the whole issue was, if they would do those things, that we would buy their product in the U.S. So it's a real tangible example of how the products we buy, whether we're talking about chemicals or paper or plastic materials or what have you, that the decisions that each of us make can really change what's going on around the world. So again, this is a big industry. It affects not only a lot of different manufacturing sectors, there are hundreds of thousands of janitorial companies involved with it, and 4.5 million workers who the decisions that we make directly affect their lives. Next slide, please. So as I just mentioned, you know, one of the things I really want you to think about is, you know, green cleaning isn't just about chemicals. It really does affect lots of different product categories. So you can green any sector and all of it helps. And besides just the products that you buy, let's not forget that cleaning really is a process. So even the greenest product that you could possibly get, if it's misused, can still harm people's health and has wasted environmental impacts. So we really not only have to look at the products, we have to look at the training of our people and also understand that beyond just their direct cleaning responsibilities, we can also use them as our eyes and ears within the buildings to also help us address other environmental issues such as energy and water conservation. Next slide, please. So with the last few minutes that I'm going to take today, I just want to really sort of lay out the foundation and define what green and green cleaning is. And please read what's up on the screen. You know, I don't really need to read this to you, but there are a few things that I want to highlight. This particular definition comes from a U.S. presidential executive order that was actually initially written in 1993 It has been reauthorized numerous times, so by both Democratic and Republican presidents, and it really does sort of map out what green is and leads to the definition of green cleaning. So next slide, please. The first thing that I want to really point out in this definition is that when we're looking at having reduced impacts, we're not just talking about impacts on the environment, we're talking about reducing impacts on both health and the environment. And what's important about this definition is that it places health, human health, as a priority over even environmental impacts. So when people tell you that green cleaning and green issues are just about the environment, please know that it simply isn't true. We totally understand that the real species that we're primarily concerned about happens to be the human species, and we can't separate that from the environment. After all, what good would a product be, no matter how green it is, if it caused the user to get cancer? So green cleaning is definitely about protecting health and the environment. Next slide, please. The next issue is this word compared. No one is suggesting that the products, the services that you're currently using are bad. That is not what we're suggesting. What green is really suggesting is there's a process of continual improvement that's happening in all industries, and especially in the cleaning industry. And the issue that we're really trying to focus on, the improvement that we're trying to do, is reducing health and environmental impacts. So what we're really trying to say is those great products that you've been using for years, for decades, they are really good products. They work well, they're cost effective. But what we want to acknowledge and what we want to encourage you to do is to reward the companies who has invested in the improvements, focusing on reducing health and environmental impacts. And yes, the products have to work, and yes, the products have to be cost competitive, but there are plenty of companies that also offer products that meet those basic requirements and, compared to the traditional products we've been using, further reduce impacts on health and the environment. As we go on down, next slide, please. The next paragraph talks about where those improvements could be found. And generally, we always talk about the product and when it's actually being used. But this also highlights the fact that the improvement can actually be made anywhere throughout the life cycle. So, you know, whether the raw materials that it was made from, how it was made, the packaging that it came in, how the distributor delivers it, if it can be reused, all of these other things are ways that you can ask your suppliers, your distributors, your product manufacturers to find ways to reduce those health and environmental impacts. And ultimately, that leads to our basic definition of green cleaning, which, as you see, is cleaning to protect health without harming the environment. Next slide, please. So I just want to leave you with this one final thought, and I suspect you're all familiar with this quote from Margaret Mead. You know, together we really can make a difference. Perhaps we feel that individually our actions don't matter, but together we really can change the world and certainly change the lives of both the students in our schools and universities and the custodians that keep them clean. So thank you very much for taking a few minutes with me, and now allow me to turn the gavel over to Pat.
Great. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to do a quick introduction of Pat Pezzo. Before we do, let's do a quick poll question. All right, so we'd love to know, how long have you been involved with the cleaning industry? And while you answer, let me introduce Pat, who is currently the Administration for Operations at the East Meadow School District. Since 2008, Pat has led a department of 117 people in supporting the goals of the district, where innovation and success are fostered through collaboration and open discourse. These strategies have resulted in successful and recognized green cleaning program. Pat works with teachers, parents, administrators, and community groups to share the goals and objectives of the district to the benefit of the students. Pat holds an MBA from Long Island University, and he's pursuing his doctorate in educational leadership. He's also an instructor for the recently launched School Facility Management Program at Hofstra University. Let's see. Let me get the answers of the poll. So how long have you been? More than 20 years at 29%, followed by less than 5 years. So it looks like we have both ends of the spectrum here today. Now I'm going to introduce Pat. Before I give over the gavel, I just want to say one quick thing, because the title of this is New Technology in Green Cleaning, and we're talking about innovation. On one hand, there are so many changes in technology in the cleaning world nowadays, and there are a lot of very exciting products and equipment that are out there. But innovation is not just about these large capital purchases, because innovation is also about strategies to save money and cut costs and energy efficiency. It's about looking at new ways of evaluating your program. It is looking at new types of mops and wipes that we're using. It's not just about the big flashy electronic equipment. So there are lots of ways that we should be thinking about innovation. And now I will hand the virtual gavel over to somebody who does just that and thinks about all of the creative new ways to innovate in his green cleaning program. So Pat, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Again, I'm Pat Pezzo, Director of Facilities and Administrator for Operations for East Meadow Public Schools. I'm also a lecturer for Hofstra University. Thank you for joining us today. Our sustainable program strives to implement new technologies to support our comprehensive sustainable program. For us, new technologies include both machines and change in process to reduce both labor and chemical use. Our goal is to continuously improve. Our sustainable program serves 5 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 2 high schools, and 1 administrative building covering 1.3 million square feet over 130 acres. We have 89 people on our custodial staff, plus in-house maintainers, groundskeepers, security guards, and clerical staff. Next slide, please. We identify new equipment through the research of our Sustainable Committee, stakeholder input, and competition among vendors trying to do business with our district. Vendors are brought in or contact us to be brought in to demonstrate the best new technologies that they have to offer. New technology and products are evaluated by our head custodians, and pilot programs for promising products are then initiated. Pilot programs that exceed our current solution are then implemented district-wide and are incorporated into our program. All new technology must exceed the performance of our current solution. Next slide, please. All changes to our sustainable program are identified for efficacy, efficiency, green attributes, and impact on the indoor environmental quality. These 4 requirements are a component of every step of our evaluation process. Next slide, please. An important benefit to our collaborative efforts to research, pilot, and implement our new programs is the impact on employees' training. As our employees are a component of the research and evaluation phases, they are often the greatest advocates of the change. Employees brought in at the beginning of the evaluation process understand and appreciate the value of the change. While there is always a level of resistance to change at the building level, there is an environment of positive peer pressure to help bring along people resistant to that change. What is also important, as we have a feedback loop in our evaluation process, people are most likely to express their concerns up front in a constructive manner. This helps both employees to have their concerns addressed, but more importantly, to have their concerns be evaluated during the pilot programs. Listening to the concerns of our employees helps us avoid missing potential problems during our evaluation phase. Next slide, please. Here are some examples of new technology which we have had success. There are only a couple of examples here. There are many more opportunities, though, that are available to enhance a successful program. The first example I want to cite is diamond pads. Diamond pads are floor pad cleaning systems that contain microscopic diamonds infused into the pad, which clean and polish the floor mechanically instead of using chemicals. Diamond pads work very well on terrazzo as well as other types of flooring. Diamond pads are a different procedure for maintaining terrazzo, as they treat the stone instead of adding coats of wax or sealer on top of the floor. This leads to substantial savings during the winter when water is tracked into a building due to rain or snow. Floors are easily restored as water and calcium chloride does not damage the finish on a terrazzo floor. Next slide, please. Okay, this technology, using a square pad tight scrubber, removes a floor finish without the added cost of using toxic or hazardous chemicals. Productivity is increased by use of this technology as time lost due to application and activation of chemicals is eliminated. Another advantage is this rectangular design allows the user to reach corners that are missed by round pads. This system works both wet and dry surfaces. And another application I want to mention includes screening and sanding of gym floors. Okay, next slide, please. Another chemical-free solution is ionized water. These dispensers convert normal tap water into ionized water. They use a water cell to apply a slight electrical charge to tap water. The charged water then passes through an ion exchange membrane, which creates an oxygen-rich mix of positive and negative nanobubbles. Ionized water acts as a surfactant, removing dirt for a period of about 40 to 45 seconds, after which it reverts back to regular water without leaving any chemical residue. This product is the most effective glass cleaner available today, in our opinion. Next slide, please. Ionized water is also used in some auto scrubbers, eliminating the need for chemicals. By use of this new technology combined with our Diamond Pad program, our hulls are routinely maintained and restored in a completely chemical-free process. Next slide, please. Electrochemically activated water technology is a different way of using water for cleaning. The primary difference is that with this process, salt is used as part of the process to activate water, opposed to the ionized process, which charges tap water only. The benefit of this technology is twofold. First, the water can stay active for a much longer period of time, up to 130 days, until it loses its cleaning properties. Also, there are levels of sanitizing that can be achieved based on the method of preparation chosen. There's still a lot to learn about this technology, but the initial assessment we find to be very positive. Next slide, please. Some of the technology that the district has employed resulting in cost savings are basics such as dispensing systems for chemicals, an applicator system for polyurethane, which reduces the quantity of the product used, a disinfecting fogger for routine locker room disinfecting, and steam generating equipment for disinfecting. Next slide, please. New technology needs to include more effective solutions for lighting. LED lighting provides approximately a 78% savings on utility cost or more depending on the application. But the impact on labor also needs to be quantified, as LED lights last about 10 times as long as conventional lighting in exterior applications. Savings on labor for exterior applications is substantial when the reduction in labor is analyzed as a component of the cost for a conversion. These fixtures, when lit 10 hours a night for 365 days a year, will last approximately 14 years, while bulbs used in conventional exterior lighting will need to be changed under the same condition about every 18 months. LED is now viable in many applications, including lamps, hi-hats, and replacement of fluorescent bulbs. While the cost of these products are still high for some applications, cost needs to be analyzed in a comprehensive fashion to get a true understanding of the savings available. Next slide, please. Technologies new and some that have been existing for some time are now readily available to add efficiencies to an effective program. Evaluation of products must always include efficacy, efficiency, possible savings, and impact on the school environment. Here is what has been achieved. We have reduced costs through new technology and change in process related to these technologies. Our green cleaning program has generated savings as well. The opportunities are there. Consider viable options and continue to move forward. We will. Thank you and good luck with your programs.
Great. Thank you so much, Pat. That was fabulous, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions. So if you do have any questions, again, type a question into the chat box, and we will get to it after our final speaker. So we do have one more speaker, but before I introduce Jody, let's ask our final question. What do you see as the biggest challenge to implementing new technology in a cleaning program? So take a moment, and I will introduce Jody. Jody Krause is the Assistant Director of Housekeeping at the University of Wisconsin. And she's also the winner of the Silver Award for the 2013 Green Cleaning Award. Jody has worked at UW-Madison in housekeeping for 15 years and currently oversees and manages the night shift custodial crew and supervisors. In addition, she oversees, manages, and tracks the budget for the facility's housekeeping department, and chairs Indirect Housekeeping Products Equipment and Testing Committee. She's been involved in promoting sustainability across the University of Wisconsin campus for the past 10 years. So we are excited to have Jody here today with us. So let's see the answer that you all have. The biggest challenge to implementing new technology in the cleaning program is seen as number one, pretty significantly, employee adoption, with number two trailing behind is cost. So I think that is very interesting, and I wonder if Jody will have something to say about that. So Jody, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and again, thanks everyone for being able to join us. I do find it fascinating that employee adoption is the highest one. We are going to talk a little bit about that, as that has been my experience as well. If you want to go ahead to the next slide. Here at UW-Madison, I work in housing. We have 30 buildings, 27 of which are resident halls, and 4 of those resident halls have food service units on site. The other 3 of the 30 buildings are strictly food service or meeting spaces for us. So we serve roughly 7,500 residents that live within our dorms each year. We are self-supporting, we use no tax dollars. Some things about us, we have roughly 2,400 employees, including 2,000 of which are students. So here in housekeeping alone, we actually have roughly 100 full-time employees and 180 students that actually clean our dorms 365 days a year. We have a little over 2 million square feet of space in our resident halls. There's quite a variance there between the buildings. Give you an example, our smallest building, which is Susan Davis House, is just under 12,000 square feet for the entire building, and it houses 30 students, typically our international students. Our largest building, just over 230,000 square feet, is Whitty Hall, one of our high-rise dorms that houses 1,150 of our students. And Dejope Hall, which is one of our newest buildings, has the largest first floor space here in housing with 16,000 square feet of space alone along the first floor, which is Terrazzo. Next slide, please. And in Dejope, that 16,000 square foot of floor, I loved Pat's presentation because we actually clean with diamond pads as well, have never applied wax to that floor. There's quite a difference in our dorms. One of our oldest, being Adams Hall, was built in 1926, houses 237 of our residents, and includes our international learning community, which is another community of our international students, specifically tailored to them. And Leopold Hall, our newest, which was built and opened in 2013, houses 172 residents. It has a greenhouse learning community within the building. We actually have a greenhouse on the top floor of the building. And it's our first building that we received LEED certification. We received a LEED certification of gold for that building. Next slide. The reason that I bring some of this into your scope of what we are consisting of is because it's changed a lot, the age of our buildings or the scope of our buildings, the differences between them in what was cleaning and what is in cleaning. I have been in doing this for 15 years here at the UW, but I was also a custodian for 10 years prior at a private company. And as many of you are aware, if you work in the custodial field, the progression of methods in which you clean has definitely changed. You start with staff mixing chemicals using measuring cups, or what we often refer to as the glug-glug system, and I'm quite familiar with that. And here in housing, we actually used that system to mix our chemicals up until 2011. In 2011, we finally kind of got our approval to be able to go to dilution stations so that the mixing was done by the unit itself, the dilution station, instead of the staff, to hopefully help us lessen the amount of chemical that we were using and to make sure that we were using it correctly. Unfortunately, with dilution stations, oftentimes our staff can actually override the ratios at which those chemicals and water are diluted together. And so we looked at yet another system that I'm going to be talking more in depth about through this discussion, and that is Lotus Pro from Tersano. We actually went to Tersano Lotus Pro in 2012. It is an aqueous cleaning system, so it's a water-based system. There are no chemicals. Again, the mixing is done by the units, the Lotus Pro units that hang on the wall. But we have found a much safer and much easier way to clean. And if we go back, for example, in testing for our cleanliness, you know, in the years behind where you were mixing chemicals or you were using dilution stations, a lot of times our test for cleanliness was done visually. You'd walk into the room and go, yes, this bathroom looks clean. Yes, this bathroom smells clean. The mirrors are clean. The glass is clean. But you didn't actually know except to say that it visually looked clean. And so when we instituted the Lotus Pro system, we actually also instituted testing with an ATP tester, which gives us a numeric reading of soil on the surface before and after we clean. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, is what that stands for. And then efficiency in cleaning, the dwell time, we know from the cleaning that we do that dwell time for a disinfectant, for example, is 10 minutes. So when you spray a disinfectant on a toilet seat that you're cleaning, if you're not letting it sit for 10 minutes, if you're wiping it off prior to the 10 minutes, you really haven't let it work. And so we find that with our custodians, if we're not letting the disinfectant or the cleaning chemical sit for as long as we need it to, then we're really doing a disservice not only to ourselves but our customers, because we're not cleaning the way we are supposed to. The water-based cleaning, the Lotus Pro, has helped us a great deal with that, because our water-based cleaning system, the dwell time, or the time that it has to sit, is typically 30 to 60 seconds. Next slide. How we pick products or new products here in university housing is that we have a product equipment and testing committee, otherwise known as the PEC committee. I facilitate that. It's actually comprised of representatives from each of our residence halls or units, and we roughly have 9 to 12 members at any given time. I've actually overseen this group for the last 4 years, and I was actually a member of this group for as long as 8 years ago when I was still a custodial supervisor. What we do is we ask our representatives to bring ideas to the table about new products that they would like to see. We meet twice a month. Not only do they bring their ideas about products, but about equipment as well. And so we sit, we talk, we take a look at what it is that we would most like to move forward with. We do the research. We talk to our vendors, see if they offer the product, what price they would offer it for. We try to find out if we know someone who uses it. We talk to other UW system schools or other Big Ten schools, any of our contacts across the nation, just to find out what they think of that product or what they think of that piece of equipment if they're using it. And then we talk about which unit, which dormitory would like to test the unit. And we come up with our testing plan. And that can vary based on the product or the item that we're testing. Next slide. One of the ways that we do our testing for example, with the plan, is we recently tested, these are 2 new changes. We tested a new odor control system and we tested a new adhesive remover. Our old odor control system was aerosol. And from our staff and from our end users, our customers, we were really trying to go away from aerosols. We wanted to use something that was simple, not noticeable, and had a better delivery system. So we went with the barricade system. They're foam strips that hang over the doors, and that includes urinal screens in the men's bathroom. And currently, we've been testing this for about a month. We're actually going to move full into using this system in all of our residence halls. We've had extremely overwhelming customer support. They love the fact that there's no aerosols. They're not risking getting sprayed in the face when they walk into a bathroom. Some of them are actually hung quite low. There's damage caused from the aerosol to the floor or the walls. It has actually removed some of the paint in our bathrooms from where the aerosol sprays out. And sometimes the smell was really too strong or, perfumey for folks. And so they really love the fact that we had installed these foam strips that hang over the doors, and each time the door opens, it releases a little bit of that smell. One of the other products that we actually just decided last week to switch over to permanently is a new adhesive remover. We had a product called Orange 90, which is used in a spray bottle. Staff didn't like the delivery method. As you sprayed it out of the bottle, it just kind of ran down the walls where you were trying to remove the adhesive. They didn't like the smell or the exposure. Inhaling of the chemical produced a lot of side effects with some of our staff, from headaches to sore throat to nausea, and you had to be really working in a very well-ventilated area to use this product safely. A lot of people really misunderstood that because they liked the fact that it smelled like oranges, and so they just thought, oh yeah, this is really cool citrus smell, and they'd sit there and spray it and spray it and spray it, not realizing that there was actually some things that they should not have been inhaling. And so we really wanted to be able to get rid of that to protect our staff as well as our residents from any type of exposure. We actually went to a liquid gel in a bottle that comes in a bottle so that you have to spray it or dab it onto your rag. You cannot overspray it. Staff like it much better. There is no smell to it. It removes the adhesive much better than the Orange 90 that we were using. And so we were actually able to switch out that product as well based on our staff and customer feedback. Next slide, please. Our testing plans can be done in a couple of different ways. And so really what we look at is the best way for us to test a new product by having 1 or 2 units use it first, and if it's successful, we expand it to additional units, or do we just have all the units tested at the same time? We actually do have testing forms, and I keep those on record, and so we have our staff as well as our customers submit feedback of each product or item that we're testing, including equipment. We ask our staff questions, for example, of a product. If it's a product that we're testing, we ask them questions like, how easy is it to use? How effective is it? Is there anything harmful, or do you have any concerns about using this product in terms of side effects? For equipment, we'll ask how well it works. You know, is it quiet? Is it easy to use? And then we'll ask our customers what they think of the space in terms of, does it look cleaner? Do you notice a smell, or do you notice the machine going by? Things of that nature. And then we keep, as I said, all of those testing forms are kept on file. Ultimately, when we make a change in product, we make it based on the majority of the feedback that we get. We know that we're not going to make everyone happy all of the time, but if the majority of our customers and the majority of our staff really feel strongly that this is the best way to go, we will go that route. We also take a look at the cost of making that switch, and then we also take a look at whether or not it meets our sustainability efforts or other initiatives here on campus. And then the efficiency in which our staff can use it. Does it make their job easier? A lot of times that's a big factor in us making a change to a product or a piece of equipment. Next slide, please. One of the most important things that we have found is the support and how you get that support. Communication really is key. We ask our staff for a lot of feedback. We have 2 committees that are rather focused on feedback as their main goal, one of which is the engagement committee here in housing, which is made up of representatives from housing, from our IT department, to housekeeping, to maintenance, to dining, to administration. And then our PET committee, as I mentioned before, which is the group that I sit on, which is the custodial staff, specifically examining new products. And so really being able to communicate with each other, bringing each other feedback and sharing with each other ideas helps us fit into what housing has recognized as our core values: care, creativity, integrity, respect, optimism, excellence, and stewardship are what we really want to focus on. And this isn't just with our, this is with our staff. This is not with our residents, or not just with our residents. Obviously, we care about our residents. We want to, respect the fact that this is their home. But we really try to use our core values as much with our staff as we do our residents, in that we want them to be a part of the decision-making process. We want them to have a say in the products that we use, because they are the ones using them every single day on the front line. So if I were to make just an arbitrary decision to change one of our products without getting anyone's feedback, that isn't really the best way to be able to institute a change. And so when we talk about innovation, I hate to say, and I hope that this isn't the case, that sometimes the innovation is communication. Communicating with your staff, getting support, and understanding what it is that they want or what they need is really key, in my opinion, sometimes to making that change. Next slide. And when we talk about innovative cleaning and getting the support for it, with the Lotus Pro, for example, what we did was we explained the testing to the staff. We asked for volunteers. or we picked from willing staff. And then we picked from willing staff, excuse me. So we laid out our testing to the staff, explained to them exactly what we were going to be able to do, exactly what our focus was. I was actually going to be going into a bathroom with a custodian on 3 occasions. We were going to be using an ATP tester. I was going to show them the results right there on the site. We were going to be sending a report to the building supervisor to let them know how their staff did. And we really laid that out for the staff so that they could pick whether or not they were willing to help us and then understand what it is that we were trying to do. We knew that the testing would occur in the 3 stages. We tested before and after normal cleaning of a bathroom. And when I say normal cleaning, here's where you use a disinfectant and you spray the toilets, for example, or the sinks, and then you start to wipe them off. If you haven't let it sit for 10 minutes, the dwell time for the disinfectant, then you really haven't cleaned according to what the recommendations are. And so we actually tested. We had the custodians clean just normally, like I wasn't standing there. Then we had them clean the next bathroom again, and I would time them with a stopwatch to make sure that they were actually letting the disinfectant sit there. And then we did before and after the Lotus Pro. Next slide, please. So what we found, or what we did, again, is just this is just an overview of what we tested in the bathrooms and the common spaces. The ATP tester, which is shown on the right, the adenosine triphosphate tester, simply gives you a numeric value of soil sitting on the surface. Next slide. As you can see from this photo, or the photo on the right, is the actual digital readout of the ATP tester. And on the left, you'll see some of the actual results that we got in the bathroom. And so the ones that are highlighted are the after cleaning with the Lotus Pro unit. The ones not highlighted are the before results. And so you can see that we were able to actually physically show the custodian how many passes and fails that they received in this testing to really help them understand what it is that we were doing. Next slide. So support in our results, what we have found with our water-based cleaning is that it basically takes the place of our biggest 3 chemicals: disinfectant, glass cleaner, and general purpose cleaner. We've had amazing success. It cleans windows and chrome and pencil marks off of desks and clean ink off of carpets, ink off of walls. We've actually used, or we actually do use Lotus Pro in all of our buildings, and we have eliminated the majority of our cleaning chemicals. We're using up the last of it now. We have found that it isn't effective on grease-based stains in the carpet, but we do use the ATP tester to continue to test behind our custodians to make sure that we are continuing to get the great results that we've gotten for the last almost 2 years. We do know that the ATP tester is not usable on fabric, so I cannot test the carpet or upholstery. I still actually have to go kind of by the visual and what we are picking up. And then if you were to use a water-based system to do cleaning in your buildings or in the facilities that you manage, I would strongly recommend that you actually use an ATP tester in conjunction with that, just to have the results that you can show. Next slide, please. The ozone system, you can see the Lotus Pro tester is just at the bottom of the photo. It is a chemical-free cleaning system. It turns tap water into aqueous ozone on the spot. It actually went from, only being stable for about 15 minutes in water to now you can stabilize for up to 24 hours. We actually use the Series 1, which is a 4-hour charge that it lasts for. There are 7 patents on the system, so it has definitely been tested by a number of folks, and it is actually considered to be stronger than chlorine bleach. Next slide. The benefits, as you can see, some of the things that we have experienced, it cleans, it deodorizes, it sanitizes, and it disinfects, and it does it naturally. We can use it on all kinds of spaces, from carpets to glass to mirrors to tiles. It's easy to train the employees. There's no rinsing, no mixing, no diluting. We can use it with our spray bottles or our mop buckets or our auto scrubbers. We actually have reduced the number of SKU numbers that we have, chemicals that we have. we are hoping to be able to prove that there is truly a reduction in worker safety for us, like the sick days I haven't been able to count, but I can tell you that none of my staff are reacting to water-based cleaning like they did to other products, having nausea and headaches from other disinfectants or products that we used. Next slide, please. And then last but not least, the sustainability best practices. Water-based cleaning is really considered one of the best practices that you can use for sustainability. It's environmentally safe. It's sustainable in terms of cleaning, deodorizing, and sanitizing. It returns to water after the charge wears off. You actually just create or make as much as you need on site, and then once you're done and then the charge wears off, it actually goes back to water. We have had staff that have drank it just to prove a point, and so we have realized that this is a really wonderful thing for us, and hopefully it's something that more people can explore and look into. And thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jody. That was wonderful. So I do know that we have a lot of questions, so we might as well just immediately jump into the question section. But before you do, just a quick reminder, if you know of any schools that are interested in being recognized and joining us in future webinars, it being recognized by the American School and University Green Cleaning Awards. Apply. Applications are available. The due date is September 6th. So get your application in. Let's jump right to Q&A. So I'm going to introduce my colleague, Alex Mays, who will start going through the questions. So Alex.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you to our speakers. So we will get started, and everybody who is participating, please feel free to keep sending in those questions using the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. So first question is for Pat, and it sounds like Jody might have input as well. Where can I find more information on the chemical-free floor stripping machine products?
Oh, there's a couple of different companies out there that do that. There is SquareScrub is actually a name of one of the manufacturers, and that's one of the units that we've used. But there are many others at this point.
I would agree with that. SquareScrub, we actually have these machines as well. We have a couple from SquareScrub, or SquarePad, which is the name of the company, and then we have another vendor that brought us another Square non-chemical stripping machine. It's called a Tomcat, but SquareScrub or SquarePad is probably the most prominent of the two.
And this is Mark Bishop. I'll just jump in there and say, yes, there are a lot of options out there. You should, if you're a school, you should reach out to your distributor and ask for that particular type of technology, and the chances are they have that available because it's relatively common nowadays.
Great, thank you. Next question is for Jody. How many Lotus systems did you install, and how did you decide where to install them?
Okay, so we initially we installed 10. We actually subsequently installed 22 more, and we actually just ordered another 15. So how we based this was ease of our custodians. We initially were going to try to install one on each one of our floors in the halls, in the dormitories. We decided that financially that wasn't feasible, and so we kind of had to put one in each unit and have the custodians basically go to that unit and then go to their floors to clean, which is why we went with the 4-hour charge. However, in doing this, we have learned that it was much easier, simpler for us to put a Lotus Pro unit at the top floor and have our plumber pipe down and create a column for the Lotus Pro to sit in. We actually fill that column once in the morning and once at lunch. Our staff does it. They've been trained. They're very good at it, and they empty it at the end of the day. So I don't anticipate that we're going to be buying, any units for every single floor, and I don't know that we're going to buy many more. It's almost more cost-effective for us to simply pipe it down, which we're moving to. So we may have some units for sale in the end.
Great, thank you. Next question is for Pat, and Jody, feel free to add your thoughts on this as well. Pat, how have you changed your training programs since you've introduced these new technologies?
Well, we try to integrate our training into the pilot programs. So what we'll do is we have vendors come in, they'll do demonstrations. We have people from each building who are there to see these demonstrations. Then we'll go and we'll test these products ourselves with our own people. Then we'll have people from other schools go and look and see and be trained by our own people who are using them, coming up with our own techniques. So it's really it's just kind of a collaborative learning process, more so than just just training. The training starts the ball rolling, but then from there we have collaboratively through these pilot programs.
Great, thank you. And Jody, do you have thoughts on how you've changed your training program since implementing Lotus Pro?
We've used relatively the same features as Pat in terms of having our, a vendor demonstration done for the buildings at large, and then having our staff train it. But we also have we're lucky enough to have a training coordinator here in housing, and so every new staff that comes to work for us actually goes through new employee training, and as part of that, our training coordinator actually trains them in all of our green cleaning methods, including Lotus Pro.
Great, thank you. Another question for both of you. What has been the biggest challenge you've encountered with making these changes?
So for UW-Madison Housing, I would say that the poll question at the beginning was getting staff aboard, which is why I'd really like to highlight again how important it is to communicate and talk with them. I mean, staff buy-in is huge, and it's going to make or break your plan, in my opinion. If my staff does not believe that water-based cleaning is going to work better than chemical, and I can't show them that and show them the results, I'm not going to get the buy-in, and we're not going to be as successful as we are in using that cleaning method right now. So it really is, I would say, getting support from your staff is probably the toughest thing to do, and therefore it's the most important thing to do.
Yeah, and I would like to agree with that also. And what we did here is, when I first started, we started to aggressively pursue these changes into more green, more sustainable type practices. We had some early successes, and I think that helped with the buy-in, and that you have that feedback loop, that people know their concerns are going to be heard, that they're not just being talked to. There's a dialogue, and but I think we were fortunate to have some big successes with the Diamond Pad. I think is what really launched us. And then from there, I think it really just kind of generated an interest to see that if this could be successful, well, let's keep moving forward and seeing what else we could be successful with as well.
Great, thank you so much. Another question, which is for Jody, and Mark might have thoughts as well. Does ozone get into the air when you use the system?
So I will tell you that we have actually had our health service department here on campus come and test that, because that was one of the questions, kind of one of the pushbacks that we got was, we're going to be releasing ozone into the air. That is not the case. We have had testing done by, as I said, by our safety department, health and safety department here on campus, and so we're not releasing anything into the air that would be dangerous to our staff or to our residents.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just love to jump in, because one of the things, my history, I'm with Healthy Schools Campaign, and prior to that I was with the American Lung Association. We actually had a history of looking at concerns around ozone exposure from air generators, and that's something that we take very seriously and would want to avoid. Everything that I've read, everything I've seen, people who I've spoken to, while they raise the concern, it seems to be that the levels of release are low. According to Jody, that they're not even measurable. I haven't seen that. But the other thing that's very interesting about what recently happened is that Lotus Pro, as well as some of these other water-based technologies, have actually gone through the Green Seal testing, and they've just received they recently received a Green Seal 37 and a Green Seal 53 certification for health and environmental issues. So I would say that there is no such thing as a zero risk or a zero chemical option, but it seems that these are generally are good products that keep exposures very low and within, if at all, within safe levels.
Great, thank you. And question for Pat. Pat, you mentioned using a disinfectant fogger for locker rooms. Can you speak a little bit more about this, and what is the product being sprayed?
Yes, we have a what we use. The product we use in that fogger is Pure Green 24, which is a green disinfectant. So that's where that works very well is in locker rooms, where you could really cover a large area fast. And these foggers are, many vendors have these types of foggers. I'm not sure if there's one I could recommend over another, but they work in. It gives you an ability to cover a large area quickly and to be able to do it cost effectively more often.
Great, thank you so much. So we know we are a couple minutes over the hour, so we're going to do one more question. Question is for Jody. Jody, have you seen any other downsides to using water besides not being able to use it on fabrics?
Well, so I want to clarify, because we do use it on fabric. We actually do use it to clean our carpets and our upholstered fabric. The downside of using it on those things is that I can't test fabric with the ATP tester that we have. So I can only visually test those. The biggest downside that we have seen with using Lotus Pro is that it doesn't remove grease-based stains from fabric. And so our resident halls that have food service units within them, if somebody drops their burger and fries on the floor and now we have a grease-based stain, the Lotus Pro hasn't removed it by itself. We've had to go in and use another product to actually help lift up the grease out of that carpet or the chair fabric that they've dropped it on.
Great, thank you. And sorry, there was one more follow-up I realized for Pat, just wanting to know how you're using ionized water in your program. I know you mentioned electrically activated water and ionized water. Could you just clarify how you're using those to clean?
Yes, we have. We do have those dispensers for the that I'd mentioned, the active ion, which we use for glass throughout the district. We have 2 in each building. We also have auto scrubbers that use that technology in all of the elementary schools for the hallway. That's what I was indicating when I talked about the chemical-free area. We like to make sure we maintain the halls chemical-free in the elementary schools. We have been currently looking at the products, the Lotus Pro and some of the other products out there to really expand what we're doing. There's many of them around, and we were still gathering information, but we were looking at doing a pilot program on that as well. And I've heard a lot of great things about it, and and I appreciate the information that Jody provided, because that's helpful for our program. But I do see us going forward with that very, very shortly, and at least as a pilot program, and hopefully more than that going forward.
Great. Thank you so much to both of our speakers. And I know there were a handful of questions we weren't able to get to, so we will be sure to follow up with those individuals.
We just want to make a final reminder that we do have a final webinar from our series coming up on September 16th. So mark your calendar, register now. Also, let your schools know about the Green Cleaning Schools Awards, which will be due on September 6th. A final thank you to everyone who participated, to our speakers, to Steve, Jody, Pat. We really appreciate all your time. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.